backstory, going from Team Sky, Ineos, Team Sky to Movistar was a real performance culture shock.
Yep.
I think so. Team Sky understood stuff had to be optimized to win bike races, and Movistar understood that you had sponsors and you had to like honor sponsors above everything. At Team Sky, if something wasn't good enough, I mean, the luxury of Team Sky was the budget, I guess, like big budget, and they could afford to say to Shimano, your wheels are not good enough.
Lightweight.
We're going to use, well, back then it was heads. We had half the team were on heads and half the team at any race would be on Shimanos. So they're like, until you make something that is good enough, we're not going to use it.
Yeah.
And whereas in Movistar, I was like, no, you use this. And what was amazing was I went from Team Sky to Ineos, both on Pinarello, and somehow downgraded like time trial bike. Ineos got the lead, and I think because they helped Pinarello make it, Movistar
it was shared IP, so yeah.
So Movistar weren't allowed to use it, and I was like, "This is absurd."
Yeah.
And I think Movistar were very upset because they've been with Pinarello for like 13 or 14 years, and had a real, and had a real friendly relationship that they thought was like a relationship based on more than just a transaction. And then I think Team Sky come in and sort of blew that out of the water. So, I think the lower budget teams have to honour sponsors far harder than higher budget teams do, and with that comes compromises. And I think with get back to Movistar, the Abbas helmet,
those helmets, holy shit.
Yeah, I don't think they're super quick, and that's and the speeds we're going now. The difference is like the faster the average speeds keep going up, the less important power is, and the more important aero is, and that's like. And so you can't give away a thing. It's like everyone's like, it's got to be more aero, up until the point something's heavy, and then it's like, no, but it's heavy. So aero gets disregarded, and then it's like, oh well, ultimately you just need to push harder. And and the beauty is you can model all of this, and like you said, you can add 10 kilos to someone's weight and go no faster, but you can shave off a fraction of aero and see some significant time reduction and speed increase. But it's I think there's like an old school mentality that still exists in cycling, where they just kind of, they don't want to believe it because they can't see it. Whereas weight and power are two tangible things, like you are this heavy and you do this much power. So
I know it's mind blowing to me, because you have training camps, the whole year set up, goals, etc. And there's, all these GC contenders, like 9% of the World Tour races, they're all getting to the last K of the climb together, unless it's like Pogacar and Pratidativo. But okay, assuming you can't beat Pog and Rog, still second, third up for grabs at Dauphiné, Tirreno, etc. And the TT is the time where you can make the big difference, and it like an exponential difference. Because like to take 30 seconds on a 15K 6% climb, you need to be on, like you need to be absolutely flying. But in a 20-minute TT, you could take 30 seconds with just planning the off season better. It just seems, I'm not actually an expert. I'm not an engineer. I'm a lawyer, but I more see where some teams like Jumbo, they're locking in with both their equipment and also the people they're dealing with. Astana as well, like their hires. I've been more watching the hires to see who's moving in the right direction. But is that something you're interested in?
Massively.
Yeah,
massively. But also, I think something I've always been interested into it. But I've learned being in the game as long as I have, you have to make the right noises at the right times in the right ways. Yeah. And so I can't just be that guy banging on the door like, you need to make this faster, you need to make this faster. It doesn't help. So last year with Israel Startup Nation, we had pretty the time trial's something I sort of parked. I focus more on the lead out because I think it's massive there, because you're doing a 1 or 2 minute effort at trying to do 60k an hour on a road bike. So suddenly aero becomes so significant.
Yeah.
And so I had a wind tunnel session, and I asked on the road bike, and I asked some friends. I asked the guys at Aero Coach who were running the session. I said, look, I want to do a specific test. I want to do a breakaway, a sprint, and a climbing test in 2 different road race skin suits. And I put numbers on. I put food in the pockets. It's sort of simulated how we'd be in a race.
Yep.
And we did 3 tests. We did 20 kilometers an hour to simulate a climb, 40k an hour to simulate a breakaway, and 70k an hour to simulate a sprint. And so the 2 suits, one was the standard road race skin suit that we were issued by the team, which was a jersey bonded, like a jersey sewn to a pair of shorts, basically. And the second one was more of a custom fit. It was a suit from No Pins, which I'd had made. It was a custom fit. It was their time trial suit with the arms cut off and pockets added to the back. I put the same amount. I put numbers on both. Put the same amount of stuff in my pockets. Run the same tests. And on the wind tunnel. So when you start a wind tunnel session, you get in your position and they draw a line around you, which is projected onto the floor. So when you get back on, you can put yourself in those lines and make sure that your position's the same. I said to him, with the results, can you, instead of saying this suit is 10 watts faster, I said, nobody really understands that. No one knows what 10 watts faster is. I said, can you put them into scenarios to give something tangible? So give us a 5k climb at 5% at 20k an hour average for 20 minutes. And that result came back. The TT suit was 7 seconds faster. So uphill, where aero does not exist, TT suit was 7 seconds faster. And it's like, okay, well, it's not much, but it's not nothing either. I said the breakaway one was, I can't actually remember the result because the overriding one was the sprint results. Now, I then take this to my sprinters in the team who I'm leading out and getting wildly frustrated at because they won't put an aero helmet on. They'll put a Holy helmet on because they're like,
Solo only wears the aero helmet.
Very good. Exactly. Well, Chimolai hated wearing the aero helmet because it didn't look great until I was like, I will not lead you out unless you put the fast helmet on. I'm not interested in helping unless you're interested in winning. To which point he did. There was over 200 meters. There was a 1.7 meter difference between the suits. Now you tell that to a sprinter and their eyes light up. They're like, you mean at the end of my 200 meter sprint? Yeah, I will be. They're like, they've all lost races by far less. Then they put the skin suit on.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of something I've worked on in the last year is trying to provide this information and this knowledge in a way that motivates guys that only really understand that aerodynamics exists, but that's kind of the long and short of it, I guess.
Well, that's what one of my big off-season projects is, sprint analysis from this year. And it's looking at what was the median drop-off point, or where did the sprinter hit the wind first when they won? Where's the average time the sprinter hit the wind first when they win? And looking at it, like just trying to build out lots of data. So I have to look at I have to go through every single World Tour sprint. Then I also need to look at solo breakaways and what they were using. So Brent Van Moer, I'm not sure he was wearing aero socks in that Tour de France break.
Yeah.
He was definitely on looked like 40 centimeter handlebars to me. And we're talking 250 meters. He was solo for over 10 Ks. And this is a Tour de France stage win on the line. And so I think, like, if you're getting in a break in a Grand Tour, you need to be suited and booted correctly. Is my view. Now, you don't need to go like Bigham's using 27 centimeter ones, but even 35s, because like they're never in a sprint anymore. You go solo, like especially in those sort of breaks. But yeah, is it also a team's not willing to fund it? Like you can say till you're blue in the face, but are the teams not willing to invest in that sort of stuff?
That then comes back on sponsors. Like, Quick Step and Bora would have to go to the might of Specialized and go, True. Can you make us like 30 centimeter bars? And Specialized are going to go, are we going to sell 30 centimeter bars? And
True.
There's that. And I think Canyon would be the same. It went Black Ink. Factor Black Ink would be more receptive.
They're a sponsor of Israel, right?
Yes, yeah. No, they're smaller and much more receptive to feedback and willing to acknowledge that I think we kind of know what we're doing, or we think we know what we want, and that's a good starting point. So I think a lot of that will be sponsor led. Also, the riders, like you got a rider like Victor, like the caliber of Victor. If he says like I want this, like a sponsor will go, okay, like because you're Victor Campenaerts. Same with like Nizzolo or Greipel or these big names. But if you've got Blue and Neo Pro who's scraped to get his contract coming and go, I want 30 centimeter bars, the team's going to be like, nah, jog on, mate. Like, we're not investing that into you. So it depends on the rider. And then a trickle down effect of that. Like you look at Victor joined Quebecer, no one's aero, and then slowly everyone's aero. Like you've got an Italian wearing overshoes in road races. Max Welshite is a time trialist now. And a very aero one at that. So I think there's a trickle down effect from the riders that are in the teams.